it has to be easy to understand. And it has to be like one of the things I tell my teams all the time is if we're creating a presentation, if we're writing a process, if we're writing a policy, will our kids understand it? Like, will my 15-year-old understand it? I mean, not to make it, I don't mean that, executives don't understand. Of course they do. But it has to be so simple so they'll follow it. Because if it's complicated, if it's disjointed, if it, pinpoints to other processes when coming, it will not be followed. It will definitely not be followed. So it has to be clean and easy and simple, you know, down to
Yeah.
a 15-year
Yep.
old to understand it so that it's just intuitive for them to follow. It's not going to be something that's bypassed because it's too much of a process. It doesn't make sense. It has to make sense. It has to be easy.
Thanks so much for joining another edition of The Never Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement. Today, we have the great pleasure of being joined by Trisha Robinson. Now, Trisha is really passionate about courageous, strong leadership, about creating those cross-functional teams, those partnerships in the business and outside, but also creating governance that feels good when you're going through it so that people can lean into it instead of feeling like they need to avoid it. Trisha, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. That was awesome. I appreciate that. No, I look forward to this conversation. I think we have some good topics, so I look forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this elevating procurement to a strategic function, right? It's not just buying things, as some people like to joke. There's so much more to it. And it's not just about whether there is or isn't a chair. It's a matter of how we show up for the business and who sees us, who hears us, and how we do that. I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts with the partnerships. It starts with meeting with those critical partners, understanding who they are, what their goals and objectives are, what does good look like, why are they doing it, what are their risks, what are all those things that they're trying to do. So being heard is important. They want to be heard. They don't want to be told, right? So really understanding and them seeing that we understand. But then I also have to show that I know what I'm doing over here, right? So based on what they're trying to do, that's where I help them build a strategic sourcing process for them that works for whatever they're looking for. And then you have to deliver on it. You have to show your worth. So getting in there, building those relationships, showing your value and delivering on it, like that's everything. Staying in front of them, having a cadence, you kind of become friends after a while and then they just reach out and lean in on you. If they don't know you, they're going to bypass you all day long. But once they know you and you deliver something tangible, like that makes a pretty cool relationship that just keeps going on and on.
It really, really does. And it's the difference between I don't know that person or I don't know that team and they've helped me before.
Right.
They're good. And that doesn't have to be a long journey. There's often pretty quick things that people can do to build the credibility, deliver some value.
Mhm.
Sometimes, one of my favorite pieces of advice, this is from a guest last year, is the idea that even in a room where you leave with no action items, you can add value with an insightful question that helps somebody walk away with more insight or a more powerful question than they had going in. And
Mhm.
sometimes that comes back and pays dividends for you, for your team, in clearer instructions, clearer priorities, better alignment. And it's really, really wonderful how that add value, it doesn't have to be enormous. It can be something that's helpful, something that's small, but then those things compound, don't they?
Absolutely, 100%. So my thing is, I tell my teams this, I always go in with, I'm not an expert in what you do, key business partner. I'm an expert in how I support you and what I deliver for you, but you're the expert in what you do. So I'm not trying to tell you how to do something differently. And I ask those questions, like you said, I don't like, listen, I don't know this. Like, how does that work? Like, the more I learn, the better I'm going to be able to support you. And then on the flip
Yeah.
side of that, like, they don't know what we do. They think we push paper, we negotiate hard and get good pricing and SLAs, but we do
Yeah.
more than
You're just
that,
getting me a
right?
PO, right?
Right. We
It's
just got a PO, just get this signed. But we share these other things, these other value add things that we do as a procurement org to support our business. And you can see the light bulb moment with them. Like the clouds are parting. They're like, wow, you guys do all that? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're listening, we're learning, they're hearing that we're willing to step in and do these other things. And then pretty soon, like, you're ending a call and they're ready to schedule the next one. So it's just very exciting. It's a great way to lean in from what I've experienced.
It really is. And I think that day to day kind of experience for other organizations, when that's set as the example from leadership, if there was somebody still in the team who was still feeling like they are the PO police, then, they can take that hint and either,
Mhm.
make the right adjustment or an adjustment is made. And I think that tone from the top, if you will, that collaborative tone is so, so, so powerful. And I think there's some teams that sometimes get far enough into that sense of frustration where they almost forget that they are there in service of. And that's one of the warning signs that I know we had
Mhm.
come up in a few conversations over the last year or two, where if you're in that situation and your team is feeling that or your business partner is feeling that, then that's kind of one of the top symptoms that there's something that really needs to come together. And you've got some great advice on how to
Yeah.
do that.
And the other thing I do too is once I do it at my level with the chief officers and the, senior vice presidents and some of the vice presidents, I have my team do the same at the appropriate levels. So then they're meeting at the directors and senior directors, they're meeting with the senior managers, and we're virtually having the same conversations. We're just having it at different levels. And then every part of those organizations, they're having the same interest, the same questions, the same experience with procurement from the top down. And I think that's like one of the most critical parts in building the relationship overall.
Yeah, it's that kind of stratified relationship
Hmm.
that's coherent, right? It's that
Yes,
coherent experience for the customer.
absolutely.
When you think about governance and whether you're at the board level where that is the point, or you're at the front line level and you typically feel like you've got some processes and systems and policies that need to be complied with. When it's done well, it really does feel like a teaspoon of sugar, right? It's that make it easy to go do it the right way, and water runs
Hmm.
downhill. So help the things run downhill towards the right way to do it. What have you found has worked for you to enable that kind of governance without slowing down, right? Governance that feels good,
Yeah.
feels like it's helping them.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I get it often. It has to be easy to understand, and it has to be like one of the things I tell my teams all the time is if we're creating a presentation, if we're writing a process, if we're writing a policy, will our kids understand it? Like, will my 15-year-old understand it? I mean, not to make it, I don't mean that, executives don't understand. Of course they do. But it has to be so simple so they'll follow it. Because if it's complicated, if it's disjointed, if it, pinpoints to other processes when coming, it will not be followed. It will definitely not be followed. So it has to be clean and easy and simple,
Yeah.
down to a
Yep.
15-year-old to understand it so that it's just intuitive for them to follow. It's not going to be something that's bypassed because it's too much of a process. It doesn't make sense. It has to make sense. It has to be easy. And once you put that in place and you communicate it, you have training sessions, you have open offices, you go around and you present it to the different parts of the company, let them ask questions and poke holes at it. When I created process and governance here, I always bring my teams along to help build it because I want my village to be part of the solutioning. If it makes sense and my team believes in it, they understand it, it's clean, then they can share it out and teach it to their business partners, just like I'm doing it at my level. So the consistent theme you'll hear in what I do is I do it up here and then my teams do it at their levels. But together we create what it's going to look like so it feels good, it's consistent, and it's easy to
Yeah.
follow.
I think that that sense of teams that feel like their hair is on fire and that
Hmm.
there's the giant list of emergencies can sometimes get trapped in those and not
Hmm.
force a bit of time to go in and create this structure that starts to, calm the storm of other noise. And
Yeah.
yeah, high five for getting that out and getting the whole team engaged in it because it creates and reinforces, I think, this permission, this sense of normalcy of, no, that new way, that simple way that we can
Yeah.
describe to a teenager. and have them describe it back correctly is
Right.
the right way
Right.
to think about it. Like there's so much power in that sense of permission that you create for your team when you do that, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And the beauty is you put rigor around the stuff that needs rigor. So the more complicated projects that come through, the big strategic initiatives, the stuff that's, you know, a high risk supplier engagement, like that's going to have more rigor in the process. But there's also the self-service stuff that you
Yeah.
build and you give your business the autonomy to do stuff on their own. Now they hate it less. Now it's even easier. Now it
Yeah.
makes it, oh, well, I definitely am going to go to procurement because they make it easy for me.
Yeah.
So it's like there's different levels within.
Yeah, self-service is next generation,
Yeah.
right? Where you've gone through procurement, you didn't know it, right?
Right.
What you just started to describe is the next level of what is just starting to become possible, right? And so leading
Yeah.
organizations are just starting to unlock that. And it
Hmm.
starts to feel like magic when you can create that for the team. It doesn't mean that there aren't people behind the curtain making sure things
Yeah.
are done right, but it means that to an end user that's just asking for
Right.
something, it can start to genuinely feel that easy.
Oh, yeah. And you start with the low dollar, low complexity, low risk stuff. That
Yeah.
frees up your folks too. So your team can now work on the more strategic things, spending time with business partners. And to your point, absolutely. We're still reviewing it, we're still checking it before it's getting executed, but they're
Yep.
doing all the work and they feel good about that. It's like procurement doesn't have to do everything. I can do some of my own stuff, and they really like it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's more engaging for your team as well when they get to focus
Mhm.
on something more than trying to figure out what letter they put into what
Oh,
box on the
yeah.
system, you know,
Yeah, they're energized, they're excited.
yeah. So this sense of investing in elevating, supporting your team, right? When you're creating the simple
Mhm.
playbook and you're bringing that down through the team, and your whole team is working with a business, it creates this sense of like geese flying together in a V, right? Where the whole
Yeah.
group gets to move together in the right direction in unison. But then it doesn't feel like a whole lot of honking going on around emergencies. It starts to feel like the business is moving together. What would you suggest in things that you've learned around building, reinforcing your team that is performing?
Yeah. I mean, you learned from your best leaders and you learned from your leaders that weren't the best, right? You learn different things. There's always something to be learned. And so I think I mentioned a little early on, I choose to lead with a village mentality. I want to be at the front of that ship, but I want my team to all rally behind. I want them to feel good and understand. I want them to be nodding and smiling and feeling good about where we're going. So that's all really important. And when we do our goal planning every year, I draft it and then I have them poke holes at it. And some things they just have to
Yeah.
accept because we're on the hook for it, but they all understand why by the time we're done with it. So it's just a great approach, really understanding what your employees want to do with their career is important. And so, thank goodness for me, my team want to stay in procurement. They want to continue and grow and do things. So I have to make sure that I'm always thinking about that and giving them opportunities to spread their wings further or have exposure in an area they hadn't had before, give them training for something they haven't been able to touch yet. So be in touch with your employees, know who they are, know what's important to them and what they want to do, and support that. Even if it's not on your team, maybe they've grown away, but keep them within your company for goodness sakes if they're awesome, right? So
Yeah.
help them find that next thing within the company so your company keeps them. Just be invested in your employees' care, and let them have a voice in where you're going and how you're getting there. That's
There,
just
there's
really
something
important to
there,
me, and I love it.
there's something really powerful about the sense of discovery of those people in your team, of doing the one-on-ones
Mhm.
to understand what they want to do, and then how much more interesting that gets for them when things that are, correlated with what they're interested in, sometimes other things that just have to get done. But when you start to go steer things their way, because that is something that they're passionate about, my sense is that's something that people
Yeah,
see and appreciate, especially when they've had the opportunity to work somewhere or in a team where that just doesn't happen at all.
yeah, absolutely. I've seen it for myself, and so that's why it's so important to me. Like you have to show that you care, because not
Yeah.
only for the great work that we deliver and wanting to do the best for our companies, but we want to be the best team and we want to be our best individual selves for for what we're delivering, but for what our entire team is delivering for the company. And when you have that, when you hit that zone, like you're delivering at a pace that you can't even keep up. It's going so well.
Oh
So
yeah.
like it's a great approach that I've seen work personally. And so I'm just going to keep leading this way.
Just keep doing it. You know,
Yeah.
so many of the things that you've talked about, Trisha, remind me of some of the work that Brene Brown's done in
Love her.
the way that we show up for our teams and the way that we
Hmm.
deal with conflict. There's a few
Yeah.
leaders that I know that have really modeled that and fostered that ability to go and be that leader. And it's powerful. It's
Hmm.
immensely powerful, right? When you think about a
Absolutely.
conversation that you need to have with a supplier where they were, supposed to be here and then they were, for whatever combination of reasons, late or putting something else at risk, when you can show up and have that conversation of, here's what needs to happen, I need you
Right.
to get here, right? And there
Yeah.
may be all sorts of things that are happening, some of those things outside of their control, some things you can help with, and you make it that conversation of how you can solve that together and the what do you
Yeah.
need. That's really powerful, and
Yeah.
it's the difference I've found too. There's something that I think we haven't explicitly talked about this, but there's something in that approach that creates the conditions where other people will work harder for you than they even knew that they could. And
Exactly.
the outcomes are amazing, right? The
Yeah.
contrast, right? There are
Yeah.
leaders that are out there who believe in I think, how did this one man put it? The ABCs of leadership, right? The antecedents, the behavior, and the consequence, and the emphasis being on the consequence. It's the carrot or the stick approach. And it's not that there's never consequences, but the alignment and the shared purpose and the way that we leave our teams, our suppliers, our partners feeling makes such a world of difference in the
Mhm.
outcomes that we can create together. And that, I think, is
For-
the so powerful for that strongest supply chain. So high five for
Yeah.
helping create that.
And one of the things I do, and I actually keep it right here, I have this note card where it's about optimism. So always, and I tell this to everybody on my team, regardless of what you're saying, if you have to jump in and deal with something, lean in with optimism. Always believe that the other party had good intentions. Now, it's hard to believe with suppliers sometimes, but always lean in with that first, right?
Yeah.
If you lean in with optimism, it's better than coming in angry. And where's that conversation going to go? Maybe it'll go your way eventually, but you're going to get there faster if you lean in
Yeah.
with optimism. So that's one of the important things that I try to convey to my team.
Oh yeah, optimism. These in days of technology coming up, people talk about API. The other thing is assume positive intention, optimism. Those go together so powerfully.
Yes.
That's amazing. Trisha, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule
Oh,
to join
absolutely.
us, share your wisdom with this community. And for all of you watching, thanks so much for watching another edition of The Never Ending Climb for Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.